This new bookshelf is basically my wingspan. And that is what the fox say. So I'm a big fan of a lot of things, but one thing that I'm a really big fan of is ladies. Specifically ladies of the internet, female YouTubers and musicians and actors and directors, in general just female content creators. Despite what you may have heard, yes, they exist, and yes, they're really good. One such female YouTuber, my friend Roseanna, tagged me this year in her annual ladies YouTube survey. So I'm gonna answer those 5-ish questions now. Question 1. Do you agree that the internet is a harder space for women, and why? Do you think that it's helpful or harmful to acknowledge that? Yes, I cannot understand any argument against this. The internet has bestowed upon us the ability to be completely anonymous and therefore completely consequence-free in a lot of places. And this, combined with an already existing internalized sexism and bro mentality, means that a lot of guys can inconsequentially harass girls online and make boob, rape and kitchen jokes until their heart's content, or until they get a primetime slot on Comedy Central. A few people might say that this happens to guys as well. Yes, sometimes male public figures do get harassed and bombed with hatred and sometimes driven off the internet, but only when they've been caught doing something truly despicable and criminal. And a lot of girls get the same treatment for admitting they like video games or Battlestar Galactica. Out of all the female YouTube friends I've made, I don't think there's one of them that hasn't at least once been the subject of harassment or objectification. And what? Why is that a commonplace thing? And I absolutely believe that it's helpful to acknowledge it. Because the more people that call out this behavior as problematic, the more people are willing to notice that and maybe learn a little bit more from a different perspective, change their own perspective, reject the status quo, and be more supportive and respectful of women online. Question 2. What is the most helpful thing you've read or watched this year about womanhood? This one's a tricky one for me because even though I am learning to be more conscious and supportive of feminism, I don't actively go out to pursue media about womanhood. Honestly, the most helpful things I've seen this year have been a mishmash of blog posts and articles and critiques of media from a feminist perspective all across the internet. If you follow my Tumblr, you'll notice that when I'm not reblogging like Breaking Bad gift sets and pictures of foxes, I always try to make the effort to reblog any kind of articles or quotes in regards to feminism that I think are important for people to read. So places like that are a good place to start, but start being the operative word. For the love of God, don't use Tumblr as your only source of information. That goes for everything. Just don't do it. Question 3. Do you think a focus on supportive networks of women online is beneficial or hurts the cause? There are a few networks online that are doing a really good job of this. Things like Wonderly, and I'll put a link to that in the description if you're interested. I think it's beneficial when the focus is on celebrating women online and their content and their talent. When the focus sort of slips away from the positives and starts to kind of alienate and exclude itself from the rest of kind of the male-dominated industry, that's when things start to become a bit of a problem. Yes, a male-dominated industry is very, very problematic, and yes, this does need to be addressed, but any kind of behavior that could be construed as exclusive only serves to fuel the argument of the stupid guys who seem to think that feminism is all about being better than men. And all that serves to do is completely derail the discussion and prevent any actual real progress from happening. So yes, I do believe female-based support networks are very, very beneficial to the cause, but as long as they focus on celebrating the good parts and strengthening that community. Questions 4. What have you done to support female content creators in the past year? Are things better now than they were then? And what do you pledge to do this coming year? In regards to this issue, this year has been a learning year for me. I've been trying a lot harder to make sure that all my female friends and colleagues are getting the recognition that they deserve, as well as trying to make more people aware that there's actually an issue by speaking as a person who doesn't represent that group, meaning a dude. I think it's really important that any guy with a decent sized and really impressionable and primarily female audience does their bit to show that audience that there are also some really great female role models out there. Right now, things aren't necessarily better. There's still a lot of people out there who aren't willing to change their perspectives or will even go so far as to try and completely subvert the whole idea of feminism, like men's rights activists. But the good thing is that issues like this are the forefront of discussion online right now, and that's where it needs to be to see any form of improvement. The more it's talked about, the more that people on both sides of the argument will learn, as much as they might not want to admit it at the time. And I solemnly pledge to continue to learn how to be the best feminist ally I can be, which means speaking with the group to help the cause and not on behalf of it or over it, knowing when my opinion as a male on feminism is valid and when it isn't, and also not just being supportive for my own benefit or self-satisfaction. I also pledge to do my best to publicize and bring more attention to female content creators. Which brings me to the last question. Who are your 5 favorite internet females? My first is my friend Lex. She's really passionate about a lot of these issues, which means that she's not afraid to challenge a lot of people when their opinions are a bit more problematic. She deals with a lot of crap because of it, so she's an absolute champion and she's doing so much good online right now. She recently got back from Syria where she's been working with Save the Children, so please make sure you go and watch her videos on that. Next is Marina Shut Up. This is a YouTuber I've recently discovered, but she's fantastic. And she's not just making vlogs full of deadpan humor and sarcasm, she's making some really great poetic content, and also again having the confidence to talk about a lot of these issues. My friend Raven Zoe. She doesn't make videos as often these days, but she's a really talented musician and she works really hard on that. She has an EP coming out this week, so make sure you check that out. Next is Ophelia Dagger. She's just brilliant. She's been around for a few years, but she makes some really great videos and she also doesn't take your misogynistic crap. And lastly, I'm gonna say Natalie Tran, because Natalie Tran. And that's me done. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something from it. Like I said, I'm not trying to speak on behalf of this group. I'm just trying to add my voice to discussion. So if you want to see more, I'd really encourage that you go watch some survey videos made by ladies. I'm not really sure who to tag next. If you want to do it, just go ahead and do it. The more videos are on this subject, the better. I'd really like to see some guys do it. So, you know, if you want to talk about this a bit more, then please, dudes, go ahead. Talk about it, make a video about it, I want to see it. If you enjoyed this or feel strongly about it, I'd really encourage you to share it, because sharing it seems to be the way to get videos out there nowadays, because the subscription box is dead, so I'd really appreciate it if you did that. And that's all! See you next time. And so he spoke, that Lord of Castamere